It's also the weekend where the college football playoff has finally arrived. We know Ohio State will play tomorrow night against number one Georgia. Tim May, for 42 years, has been covering Ohio State football for the Columbus Dispatch. He'll join us at 10:45. But the first game is I'm really excited about this one. That's TCU in Michigan, and I've got skin in the game. Got a child that goes to school down there at TCU. Now, the man who is covering all of this has been for many, many, many years Mac Engel. He's an author. He's a longtime sports writer. I mean, look at him down there in Phoenix. Although I got to tell you, Mac, it doesn't look like such a nice state out there. You expected better.
No, thank you very much for having me on. I didn't know you had a child at TCU. I never knew that.
Yeah,
I'm always surprised when I hear. I didn't know that. That's great. No, you've been out here to Phoenix 8 billion times. I've been out here 500,000 times. I've never seen it like this. You came out in spring training and did a million games. You did a Fiesta Bowl. I still remember your call when Boise State beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl 20 years ago or however many years ago. But no, we got rain here. So whatever that means, I don't know if that means anything about tomorrow's game as an upset, but it actually rained here. So whatever plans people had to hike or be outside, that's it looks like they're going to be inside the mall today.
Well, it's funny because you bring up the rain, and I lived in Arizona for about 14 years, right when the Diamondbacks launched. And it's funny you bring up, you make right. Does the rain mean anything? And one of the moments I'll remember forever is when, it rarely ever rains in Arizona to start with, in Phoenix anyway. Right. But in Game 7 of the World Series, it rained in the 9th inning, and the Diamondbacks beat Mariano Rivera in the bottom of the 9th inning to win that World Series, and it was starting to rain when the 9th inning began.
I never knew that.
Yeah. It was a great story. All right, look, I want to talk to you. First off, let me ask you this real quick, because you've covered the Cowboys forever. You authored a book with Tony Romo. You've been down there a long, long time. They win last night. Obviously, you weren't at the game. But how do you like the Cowboys? I think a lot of us, on the AFC side, in Cincinnati, and there are a lot of us that watch the Cowboys and we're like, boy, there are a lot of things to really like, but then there are some things that you're like, well, is your defense really that good? Can Dak Prescott win the big one? I know there's a lot there, but how do you feel about Dallas with 1 week to go in the regular season, then on to the playoffs?
First of all, I want to say this. I really want to thank you for having me on. I've always, I was born in Cincinnati. You and I have met a few times. We actually have a friend in common. My sister-in-law grew up with you. And so to be asked to be on a show with Thom Brennaman, the Brennaman family, means so much to me. I really appreciate it, Tommy, a lot. So I was, I'm a Bengals guy. I suffered through that pain. That was the first team that I really loved. And this is a long answer to that. So dovetail. I think when I look at the NFL right now, there's like 3 teams that you look at and you think, whew, man, they really got something because they have either Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, or Patrick Mahomes. And I think there's that second tier where Dallas falls in, where you've got Dak Prescott, you've got Kirk Cousins, who I've thought he was a good guy and a good pro, but he's not been somebody who ever really scared me. And then you certainly look at Jalen Hurts and now San Francisco. So any team in the NFC, those top teams, they're all really good and they've got flaws. Well, if San Francisco, you would put years ahead of everybody if Jimmy Garoppolo was healthy. Well, he's not. They're playing with a rookie, the last pick in the draft from Brock Purdy. And that's not their fault. And he's doing a great job. And you have to give everybody a lot of credit. But I think when you look at Dallas, you hit the nail on the head. You're like, there's a lot to like. And there's a lot to be concerned about. I'm a big Dak Prescott fan. He's a great guy. He's a terrific leader. Everybody likes the guy. And you do see him make throws sometimes. I go back and watch the Philly game. He made a completion on 3rd down and 30 that was just as good a throw as any quarterback could make. You remember?
Yep.
I think we might have lost him.
Sorry about that. Did I lose you?
That's okay. Go ahead. You were talking about the 3rd and 30.
Okay. The 3rd and 30, so it's a great throw. And he makes all these throws, but God, he's in this run right now that's just – I've never seen anything like it where, Tommy, passes that are on the mark go off a guy's fingertip and it's into the other team's safety's hands. And it's all the time. And you would think law of averages would say, well, that'll stop. And then it happens again. And he hit 2 more last night. One of them wasn't his fault, but it's on his ledger. I firmly believe that will stop. The Cowboys will win their first game in the playoffs against Tom Brady and the Bucs. Then they'll go into the divisional round. And then I don't have any idea. I wouldn't be surprised if they won by 3. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost by 6. I think it'll be close. Yeah. I don't think them as a Super Bowl team. I wouldn't be surprised they get the NFC Championship game either, though.
No, I mean, like I said, there's a lot to like, and there are games where you watch their defense, and Parsons and these guys are running all over the field, and you know, and there are other games you're looking up and they're giving up 40 to Jacksonville or whatever it might be. All right, on to the game you're covering. I find this because, look, everybody who watches our show knows because of my skin in the game with our daughter. But this has been I've watched every game on television, and I've been to a couple in person. And look, everybody and his brother is basically saying they have no chance against Michigan. I don't believe that for a second. Watch the team and the way they played and the way they've won. What makes you think they have a chance? Or do you think they have a chance?
Yeah, I do. I think, the one component to this that's inescapable is, Tom, most of these playoff games have been boring blowouts. I think there have been 16 of them, and 13 of them have been decided by double digits. These are the 4 best teams in the country, and they're all blowouts. And that's just the way it's gone. For whatever reason, there's 1,000 different theories, and I'm sure anybody who looks at this, like you just said, well, this will just be another 12-point, 15-point win for the favorite. I think TCU can play with them. I think this goes back to brand stuff, and it's the idea that Michigan's Michigan, and that's a power team from a power conference, and they're a huge power state school with all these big giant guys. And TCU is relatively new as a power. They are. I mean, they really, this only started since about 1998-ish, and even then they weren't in a power conference. I would be willing to bet I'll tell you this will give you everything you want to know, Tommy. I love telling this story. I have taught there as an adjunct professor off and on for 10 years. Back in 2007, I taught a class, 2008, first conference game, middle of October. The weather had broken. It was 7:00, 15 kids, 2 of them had to be at the game on Thursday night against BYU. Student asked me, Tommy, hey, well, can we go to the game? I said, yeah, absolutely. We'll cancel class, go to the game. None of them went to the game. None of them. They all want to stay in my class. It was the dumbest thing ever. I'm like, you're crazy. Go to the game. This is a great night. Go to the game. They didn't want to go. Fast forward to 2 years after the Rose Bowl. I have 12 kids in my class, 6 males, 6 females. I said, just out of curiosity, how many of you guys attended TCU based on the influence of the success of the football team? All 12 kids raised their hands. There's no way your daughter wanted to go here without the success of that football team. And it's nothing to say anything disparaging about anybody. That's the influence of it, but this is all relatively new. And I think that newness hasn't really influenced people who watch college football to think, well, TCU, they're not going to win that game. What they're trying to do is basically what Notre Dame did in the modern era. That's really hard. This is you've been here. It's only 10, 12,000 kids. It's really small. Michigan's got 80 million kids. Ann Arbor's a giant college town. TCU is a small school in a major metropolitan area that gets lost behind the Cowboys, Stars, Mavericks, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a really good team. You just have to get your head around the idea that it's from a small school that can compete with a big team. They can. I think it'll be a fourth quarter game, and it'll come down to 6, 8, 10 plays. If TCU can get a turnover or two and win those kinds of cliche, margins, I think they can win the game. I don't think they have any shot against Georgia, but I think they can beat Michigan.
One thing about Duggan that I like so much about him, and I'm talking about off the field more, because his on the field play speaks for itself, and his guts and his toughness and his journey and getting benched to start the year after being the starter. And then the guy gets hurt the first game. He's back in as a starter, and he ends up in New York at the Heisman thing. But the thing that he does that I've never heard any college kid, Mac, in my life is he talks so much about how he loves the school and how important this to the school. I never hear anybody talk about that.
Neither have I. I had the exact – I'm so glad you said that. I've had the exact same observation. I mean, you think about the advertising, what he has given this school. You can't put a dollar amount on it because this school, this school, this city, this school, this city. He's from a small town in Iowa. He comes down here. He wasn't, obviously he was heavily recruited, but not, it wasn't like Ohio State. Think about how badly Iowa would want him right now, or Iowa State would want him right now.
Right.
Yeah, right. They would kill for him. I mean, Iowa could do nothing but punt all year. And I can't think of, you look at Iowa, look at Max. He's the son of a coach. And I remember hearing this when he lost the starting job. I mean, it is crazy to me. He had started 30 college games in his first 3 years, and he was not the starter going into his senior year. That's crazy. And he was disappointed, but he had manned up and said, okay, I'm going to ride this out. But he was really nervous about telling his dad. And look how it worked out. The starter's Chandler Morris, also the son of a coach. Chad Morris was the head coach at SMU in Arkansas. I talked to Chandler yesterday in Colorado. Max comes in, and that's it. And then after that, it's just been a story like everything you just said. But in the middle of that is all of this PR work on the part of the university that I've never seen before. You always, I love my teammates. I love these guys. I love these staff. Nothing like this school's amazing. Never. And he's done it. And the school, I know this, talking to administrators, they revere him for it. They can't find enough words. They might be able to find a few dollars, but they can't find enough words, Tommy, to express their gratitude for the things that he has said on camera, on ESPN, and every place else throughout these last 4.5 months.
Well, I just think that, if you're somebody out there, and of course in Ohio, we have Ohio State, although Cincinnati's not a huge Ohio State town compared to the rest of the state, as you know, but there's still a lot of Buckeyes alums. And so that's a team most are following. You have a reason, obviously, to despise Michigan. But I just think that if you have no skin in the game or blood or anti-anything or anti-anybody, it's always great to latch onto the underdog, and it's always great to find a persona with the underdog that you would want your own kid to be like. And I mean, that's what Max Duggan is. You would want your son and or daughter to carry themselves on so many levels, the benching in a day and age where it's I'm me, it's all this sort of stuff, getting benched, not saying I'm out of here and the coach is an idiot, he just came in and blah, blah, blah. I just think that they're an easy team to just jump on the bandwagon for 1 or 2 games. Why not?
Oh, but the funny part about it is, and I'm sure you've heard it, is this idea that there's this Cinderella. Well, Tommy, this is a Cinderella that has an endowment of $2.4 billion. Cinderella basically worked for her sisters, mean, cruel stepsisters, and lived in a basement. You've been down here. You pay the tuition check, okay?
Yeah.
This is a pretty good-looking Cinderella. But, when in terms of – and I don't know if you've been to a game – they got a 48,000-seat stadium. It's an amazing facility. Tommy, they can't fill it up. The school's just too small, and everybody makes fun of it. But you know how it goes. You lived in Cincinnati forever. Think about how long it took for UC to fill up. Forever. I mean, it took generations of coaches, great coaches, winning and winning. And this started back when Dennis Franchione was the coach in '98, and he goes to Alabama, and they promote the assistant. They didn't really want to, Gary Patterson. And then, oh my God, that is lightning in a bottle times 1,000. And then they kept spending money. And Tom, the other thing too, they just kept winning. And that's what they did. That's how they built their brand. And now you've got your daughter here, and it's a neat place. It is a great place. But it is funny the perception of the university and how much it's changed since I moved there in '96. It was a very small regional school. And now it was known as Texas Christian University. And in about '98, the university decided we want to be known now as TCU. I remember I can still see the university memo in all university stuff. It wanted to be TCU. They wanted to get away from its relationship with the Disciples of Christ Church. And they've done that. And now it's a very affluent, most of the kids come from California now. And it's a national brand, small private school with power sports. And that's what they do.
Well, my friend, I know you got to get into press conferences. I can't thank you enough for your time today, Mac. And I'd love to have you back. Maybe we get in the playoffs and have you back and come talk about the Cowboys and what's going on with them if you have the time.